Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. Let me tell you that I was going to ask about the discrepancies on the FOIA matter, but I believe that has been covered. However, I had originally intended to drop that question, but I don't want you or anybody else to believe that I think it's a waste of time ever to try to reassure this committee and the American people that we're trying to have a just system. And the appearances, as previous folks have said, the appearances are that when it comes to the waiving of the fees, that it has not been just, that somebody is placing their finger on the scales of justice. I believe that what you've laid out, talking to the Inspector General and all, makes sense, but I don't want anybody thinking that we think it's a waste of time to try to assure the American people that we're setting up a just system.
I don't believe that for a minute. I feel it's
one
of my most important responsibilities as a public servant.
And as a part of trying to make sure we have a just system, there have been concerns with the sue and settle process that the EPA frequently agrees to, what we believe to be unrealistic deadlines for issuing major rules that are going to impose massive new costs on businesses and consumers. The schedules the EPA agrees to may not allow the EPA enough time to collect the data the agency needs or enough time for the public to review the rule and offer meaningful comment. Can you commit that going forward the EPA will consult with affected stakeholders before committing to those deadlines?
One of the things that I'm committed to doing is when there's a request for when we have a petition or a request to do a rulemaking on whatever schedule, to post that request on the web so that all the stakeholders can see it, and then whatever process that is required under the Administrative Procedures Act, et cetera, which is also already
Well, I would encourage you to go a little bit further than just posting, although that certainly would be helpful, because I believe that going, as we go forward, being more transparent and involving all the affected stakeholders in the process will help ensure that the EPA does not commit to unrealistic deadlines. In the case of the Clean Air Act consent decrees, before they are entered by the court, there's a statutory opportunity for the public to comment. Does the EPA publish copies of the actual rulemaking settlements and proposed consent decrees in the Federal Registry, or Register, excuse me?
All of the consent decrees under the Clean Air Act, for sure, have to be published in the Federal Register.
But is that done when you're discussing this? There's supposed to be an opportunity for the public to comment before they're entered by the court. Do you put it into the public register?
Yes.
Before the court enters the decree?
Right. It goes out for public comment, and then when the public comment period is over, the comments are reviewed, and then that's when it gets entered into the court.
All right. Does this opportunity for public comment ever result in changes to a settlement? Because we're only aware of one instance where involving technology and residual risk reviews for various source agencies where that occurred.
I don't have that. I don't have information.
Can you get that information for us?
I can certainly get that for you. I do know that we also get once we complete some rulemaking, we often get requests for reconsideration of those rules as well, and which we have done on many occasions.
And I appreciate that. Sorry, my time is short. I've got to keep moving.
Yes, sir.
There are some in the agency in the past related to Utility Act and other regulations that have indicated that coal-fired power plants are not being retired because of regulations, but because of the low cost of natural gas. Of course, natural gas costs are going back up. But while some have made that argument, and we've retired 41,000 megawatts of coal-fired generation, there's a Duke University Nicholas School of the Environment that has concluded that the cost of complying with tougher EPA air quality standards could spur an increased shift away from coal and toward natural gas for electric generation. Also, in April 23 of this year analysis, the Energy Information Administration explained that the interaction of fuel prices and environmental rules is a key factor in coal plant retirements. How do you make the two of those fit? And I would submit that what you've got is that the regulations are in fact retiring these agencies. And like Mr. Rush said earlier, he's concerned about what happens to poor folks. In my district, they're having a hard time paying their electric bills and their food and their drugs, particularly for my elderly who are trying to survive on a fixed income. And I'm just wondering if the EPA takes any of that into consideration when they're trying to make these decisions, because when I raised this last year with your predecessor, she said, or I guess it was a year and a half ago, she said, we have programs to take care of that, but in the budget, not your budget, but in another part of the budget, the President actually cut the LIHEAP program, which would have helped folks with their heat bills and their electric bills. How do you justify or make all of that work together?
Well, first of all, we do analyze what we think the impact of the regulations will be on potential closures, and you're correct that it's a complex mix of what the age of the plant is, what it would cost to continue to keep it running and fix it up versus modernizing with another kind of plant. Our estimates continue to show that a very small amount, but not a zero amount, of the changing that's going on in the industry, which has been going on for 10 years, is not due to the regulations. But the regulations are no doubt have a role to play there, and we've analyzed that and we've been public about it. I know that this has come up several times, and I went ahead and looked a couple of weeks ago at what the projections are, even under the current situation that you're bringing up here, that EIA and others have put out there, what coal production and coal usage for electric generation will be in the future, and it's still fairly robust. I mean, there's no expectation on our part, nor desire on our part, to have coal not be part of the diversity of fuels that are available for electric generation in the United States, and all of our projections, including EIA, show that it will continue to play a role.
Gentleman's time has expired. At this time, I recognize the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Johnson.